following is a presentation of Solid Edge ST3 running in a managed environment. The management solution we're using is Insight, which is a PDM technology that is included with most licenses of Solid Edge. Insight runs right inside of Microsoft SharePoint, which makes it a very easy and very flexible PDM solution to deploy to an organization. The trick is really just setting it up based on understanding your needs. The screen that you see before you is my Insight installation set up on SharePoint Foundation 2010. With ST3, we now support SharePoint 2010. We still support WSS3, as well as MOS 2007, and also the new SharePoint Server 2010, which is the purchased full-blown support for Office, and all the new extensions that Microsoft offers for those as well. So the idea with SharePoint is it's a web portal that drills into your data, into your document management solution. So being a portal, we look at this as kind of like site collections. My top level site where I'm at the home is my site collection. And the idea of the site collection is that it holds all of the different sites that manage the information that I need to provide and control access to. At the top level, I've got just a quick image of my main product line. And I can also add other what's called web parts, which are tools to query to the database and see different information based on who you are or where you're at. So maybe on the top page I might have a wiki page, or I might have discussion groups, or I might have links that my engineering department regularly goes to. I've set up 4 subsites or sites within here. 3 of them are specific to Solid Edge data. I've got a work in progress, which is where I would save a Solid Edge file that has not been released to manufacturing. Once I send LCA process LCA or Lifecycle Assistant on this and release documents, they will automatically be moved to the released site. And once a released object becomes obsoleted because of subsequent release, it'll be moved automatically to the obsolete. By putting these into different sites, and I've got a very quick, easy top-level permissions structure that I can control. Perhaps I do not want anybody in manufacturing to access work in progress. I only want them to be able to see documents that have been released, or marketing or sales or other parts of the organization should see this type of information but not others. I can easily do that with sites at a very high level application. So let's take a look at work in progress. And again, it's just another web page, and this is the main body of my page. We're going to come back and talk about what this page means to the users, but for right now I want to bring your attention over to the upper left where we're looking at what's called libraries, document libraries to be specific. So a document library is a technology from SharePoint, and this is where you're actually going to be putting files. You could almost look at this as a volume, like a C drive or a D drive or an E drive or a network share or something. I like to use document libraries as a project-based approach, which means that I've got an Iron Eagle document library that contains all the files specific to the Iron Eagle product line. ST3, another project, all the files specific to that. Another document library called STD parts for standard parts. Now obviously these standard parts are used across all of the other projects, so by putting things into a document library, I'm not preventing them from being used in other places. It's really just another level of controlling permissions and organizing my data. So come into the Iron Eagle document library, and you'll see my page will change. So now instead of seeing a web page, I'm actually seeing something that looks similar to Windows Explorer, and I can have folders, so I could have files at this level. If I expand a little bit deeper, in this folder I've got some AutoCAD files, and SharePoint provides a shortcut menu, and then we provide tools specific to the object if it's an object that we're responsible for, so a DWG or a Solid Edge file. I'm going to, in this case, use one of our tools called View Properties, Graphics, and BOM. And this brings up a page that we set up, which is called Web Parts, and we put whatever we want to see, however we want to see it. And I'm looking at a web part for a graphics viewer, for a bill of material, and for viewing the properties of the part that I sent here. Since it's a DWG file, I can pan and zoom. It's all 2D, unless I send a 3D file. Okay, so I wanted to make sure that you had the opportunity to see the support for the DWGs. So what I'm going to do next is come back to my work in progress site. And from here, now let's take a look at this page. I've added a little bit more to this page than I added to the top. An overall description, what's inside of here. And again, if I don't belong in here, I can control the permissions so that user can't get in here. Or maybe I want somebody to be able to go in there and he can see, but he can't modify. Or maybe he can't even see that the site exists. All that level of permissions comes out of the box with SharePoint, and it's fully honored with Insight. So I've added some descriptions, and I've added just a quick image on here to let you see what it looks like. I'm an owner of the group, so I get extra privileges. I get these commands here to make customization changes, but there again, that's a permission that can be set. I've added a web part, which is a web part that we provide for Solid Edge searching capability, and I've added a task here. Now, the user task is a web part provided by SharePoint, and essentially you create tasks at the site level, and if the task is assigned to me, then I would see it under the user task. If I select the URL, it'll bring up a form, and I can see all the information of the task. I'm being asked to add louvers to improve airflow on assembly ASM 016. Well, I'm not really all that familiar with this assembly, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this to the clipboard, and we'll hit close, and I'm going to use the Solid Edge search. And it looks like I had already done this search onto here before, but we'll go through the steps so that you can see that. And in the property field, I can grab any column that I've associated back and forth. So what a column is it's when we looked at the document library, there was everything was in nice columns. If you make a column, I can specify a name, and that will automatically map to my Solid Edge files as custom properties. Or I can do a full text, which is like a fuzzy text. We index all the text out of draft files and other file types that we support, and then you can search and find that text from here. When I paste in the file name and do a search, I'll see the results will pop up on the screen below here. If I select a file, then I will see a search preview of the file that I'm selecting. So the assembly of the draft of the PCF file. And the file I'm looking for is actually the draft file. And if I right click any of these, then I can get access to commands specifically for the file, such as open with editor, which would open this file in Solid Edge if I have Solid Edge loaded. If not, if I had Insight Connect, it would bring it up in Insight Connect, or you would mark up a revision manager. Delete the file properties where used, and delete, of course, is intelligent, looking to see is the file dependent to something else. In this case, I want to do an open in dashboard, so I will send that draft file back to that web parts page that we had looked at before with the DWG file. And the draft file comes up pretty quickly, and I can of course pan, zoom, etc. But I want to look at the bill of material because there's actually some associations here, and I can see the direct document that I sent, the draft file, and I see that it uses this assembly file, and I'm going to go ahead and expand this. So now I'm digging deeper. I'm reading the BOM out of that assembly file, and I'm reading the graphics, and I'm waiting now for the graphics to update onto the screen.